right.
Good morning, Friday the 13th. Want to welcome you to Brick by Brick. I am Connie with the Russell Rose team at Remax Fine Properties. With me today is Rachel and Sam, and we're going to dive into some topics that matter. It's been Friday the 13th for sure. Today, we want to talk about why it is so important that you have buyer representation, and I'm going to lead it off with whoever wants to start.
Oh, I'll start because I had the most horrendous call this week, yesterday, in fact, and talking about it with you two this morning. So it was actually the mother of a client I had sold the property to, sold a property to, and she reached out to me. She wanted to talk to me about a contract she had found herself in, but she wasn't sure if it was a contract she was in. Elderly woman living on pure Social Security. Found a cute little house on Zillow, clicked the link. The agent called her 18 times in 2 hours. Yeah, ouch, to get a showing. So he gets the showing, takes her to the property, and then she comes back to come show her daughter the property. She likes it. It's cute. Has not done a pre-approval, has not signed anything. All the things that they're supposed to be doing right now, which is crazy that they're not being done. She goes back to show her daughter the property. There's a ton of people there. She freaks out because they're putting open house signs. They tell her, if you sign an offer on it, we'll pull the open house and we won't do it.
Okay, so wait a second. You're talking about the listing agent of the property?
The listing agent of the property. So
not even her agent.
Not her agent. She is not represented in here at all.
Ooh.
She had no idea that she had no representation. She had no idea that he represented the seller and the seller alone. So now there's that form that's supposed to be the representation disclosure that everybody is supposed to sign if that's the case for these moments. With that moment, and I don't know if she has it or not, but according to her, she had no idea. Said, okay, send me a copy of the contract so I can look at it. I can't interfere with it.
No.
I don't represent you at this point. You're under contract, but I'll look over it for you. Well, in that contract, they had her paying full price. They gave her no seller concessions. They did a home warranty that they're getting a kickback on. And I'm looking at this going, oh my gosh, this market is not that right now. Every seller is paying concessions right now. And the majority of the market is sitting a little longer. And the majority of the market, we're seeing sellers being able to help a little bit on it.
They are, but even if they weren't, even if the sellers were not paying concessions, this wasn't explained to the buyer.
Not at all.
Because she doesn't have representation.
Yeah, she had no idea what she said. She just said, now he wants $1,100 from me. What do I do?
And she had no idea what it was.
No idea.
That's probably the issue was in this contract. Thankfully, looking at this contract, and this is what I told her, you are the telltale reason that you want to have an agent.
You are the poster child.
Yes. I need to snap a photo and put flyers all around town of why you want a buyer's agent because of these things. That she could have definitely, not could have, but we could have worked harder to get her a better deal, to get her some help. But even with that, what she signed and what the contract was, and where I found it out for her, was that the closing date on it was backdated 3 days previous to when she had actually signed the contract. So
Lord.
The closing date was put on for the 6th, and she had signed it on the 9th.
You know, and here's the thing, what she doesn't realize is the fact that was backdated to September 6th as a closing date. They could have sold it to someone else because she was in default of her contract.
Right, there was no contract.
So there's no contract. There was no contract.
No contract at all. And bless this woman's heart, she's living on Social Security, period. At this point now, they've scheduled an inspection for her. She's now had to pay an inspector $575 is what that turned out to be.
Do you know what a big no-no it is for us to schedule an inspection?
We don't schedule
We
them.
don't schedule them. The buyer schedules
The buyer
them.
chooses the inspector,
Yes.
and it is personal and outside of the contract, period.
Mhm.
So they also sat there and chose the inspector for the
Yes.
They
buyer.
chose the inspector
no.
first. So they represent
It
the
gets better.
Oh, no.
they represent the seller. They didn't disclose it. They wrote the contract, and then they picked the inspector. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all just so
There's no
bad.
one in any of this looking out for her.
nobody,
Mm-mm.
nobody, and that is
God.
such the huge importance of having an agent represent you. Because I was like, wow, wow. So told her, if you love the house, figure out a way to make it work. These are the things that are wrong. I can't do anything else about it right this second because I'm not involved in this. But I felt horrible for her. I'm like, before you spend any more money
Oh.
of your social security that you are living
You need
off
to
of.
decide what you want to do with this contract and do what you want to do with
It
it.
is
I mean, we can't advise, and that's the thing. I get so many people calling after the fact.
Yes.
After the fact.
I think it's actually a common thing because I get calls all the time. Hey, I'm in a contract here. I'm buying out in Dallas Fort Worth, or I'm buying here.
Mhm.
And these are people that I know, and they go, "Can you look at this over for me?"
Right. Oh,
So-
yeah. I had one from Kentucky. Bless their hearts. Like, I had sold them their first home and then sold that house for them when they got orders to leave. And then they went into an RV because it sold faster than they anticipated. They were stuck here for another 6 months, so they decided to buy an investment property,
Yeah.
flip it while they were here. So we sold that one, sold them an investment property, sold it outside of them. They thought like we hung the moon and we were the best realtors ever. So even as they're now in Kentucky, 2 years down the road, they were still, can you look at this? I was like, I don't know Kentucky law.
And I tell you, it's funny too because my son sent us his contract in Indiana,
Idaho.
Idaho, and it was Greek to us, and he wasn't covered, he wasn't protected. So you go, oh, that's where these lawsuits came from because I know in Texas it's harsh. You are covered in every single step of the
I had
way, but this way everything was so open ended.
I had a client
Yeah.
there. They had their contract and they were selling a home and buying one here. The contract, they were having so much difficulty with their listing agent. They were like, "Can you look over this contract?" It was 87 pages long.
Oh my word!
And I could not, for the life of me, see anywhere where there was any type of representation realistically for that seller, protecting that seller in
Oh,
any sort of
wow.
capacity. Now, I know
Mm.
there's a lot of outs for buyers here in Texas, and there's
Yeah.
very few for sellers, but I couldn't even find one for that seller.
Yeah.
Yes,
And there was
they're
no
crazy.
protection.
That's
So
crazy. Well, okay, so that goes to that
Texas
contract.
actually sits there and protects
The
the
buyer.
buyer,
buyer.
and in some
What is-
scenarios the seller as well.
What is that thing? Like 18? Is it 18 or 28 ways for a buyer to get out of a contract?
It's up to like
32,
it's more than that now.
is it?
Yeah. So with all
buyer
the
to
contract
bail.
changes, I
Yeah.
think they're up to like 42 or 48.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think it's only 3 for the seller.
Yeah.
You know, though, early on, I'm going to date myself again. Our original broker that we used to work under and we were so irritated because we'd go to the appointment with her, and it was just like, I don't want to sit here for 2 hours.
Overkill.
I don't think I can tell you how many times she told the seller, once you sign this offer, you have no rights.
It's over.
It's over. And of course, we're brand new, big eyed, going
Well, it makes
What?
you terrified to sell a
terrified
house.
to
Oh,
sell
yeah.
a house, but she made it clear.
You're out.
There, you're done.
Yeah.
All the power goes to the buyer. So if the buyer doesn't know what they're doing, though, because they
That's the
don't have
problem.
representation,
That's
Right.
the problem.
then what?
It's a huge problem. Well, I was like, my gosh, this agent is a walking lawsuit. Like, you are the reason we have all of these forms. Like, this
Yeah.
is insanity.
It's crazy.
We've all had it where it's our listing and somebody comes. Thank God for a team because we usually always just try to split it off somewhere and say, hey, you need to represent the buyer. I'm going to represent the seller.
Yes.
But that comes down to the ethical side of agents and what you don't stay in business doing things that way,
Right.
in my opinion. You'll always have some, but you don't grow business and you don't stay in business. And then what are you doing this job for if you're not genuinely looking out for people?
Well, there's a vast difference between handling both sides of a transaction and then actually being able to sit there and look out for someone.
Correct.
It's literally, I've boiled it down to people. Like if someone is handling both sides of a transaction, you're literally just waving flags around and telling people where to go. Like you're
Yes.
directing airplane traffic.
Well, that's what I and it's his fiduciary duty to do so. He's a paper pusher for you and nothing else. He can give you the paper and tell you where to be, and that's all he can do for you.
I'm going to take it even a little further, though. He didn't even give her the option to give him what she's willing to pay.
Right.
He just chose.
Right.
And that, but you
Which is so
know,
crazy.
that's scary.
Well, and
It's
here's
scary.
here's what happens with agents like that. Here's the stupid. This is the karma that they receive, in my opinion. Is she's not pre-approved. She wasn't pre-approved. She
Mhm.
didn't have an approval on file. I know she can't have approval because I tried to work with her daughter a few months ago. They talked about purchasing one large property, putting
Together.
2 homes on it so that they could still be around each other and all of this. Sent them to a lender at that time, like, okay, great, let's see what we're working with budget wise. And there were some challenges to get both of them on a loan. So I know she's going to have an uphill road getting pre approved on even that loan just with Social Security. So with that, again, she doesn't have an agent.
Right.
She doesn't have somebody to refer her to a lender that could help with that type of scenario.
So, question then is, how was that third party financing addendum filled out?
It was filled out for 15 days.
Okay, but what loan was put on there?
FHA. He typed it as FHA, but she has no approval. And I'm like, how
Yeah.
did you know what to type it up as?
So we're just
Oh,
making up
Lord.
the numbers as we go
I'm like,
along.
oh my Lord. And she goes, well, I got a little skeptical when he was standing there with the owners and they'd go off and talk and then come back to me. And I'm like, well, yeah, as
Yep.
you should.
Run.
Why?
Run.
Well, even with that, why is the owner there while you're looking
Right.
at the property? What are we
Yeah.
doing? Like, this is crazy.
So I call those snatch and grabs, and
It's terrible.
unfortunately to me, it just turns into I care more about my paycheck than I care about my client.
Yeah, and I want to
And that bothers me.
I want to put that out there. Like, there are very few agents that we come across
There
that
are
way.
Yes.
few.
Legitimately, the
We
ethical,
found one.
the,
This one.
the
What?
ethical level. Most people in the business are in it for the right reasons, and
Yes.
things are done appropriately, and we're all supportive of each other. But this particular incident was like very eye-opening for me that this is going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I too looked at it as a failure on my job. Is why didn't you call me first? Like, you
Right.
should have. Whenever you started clicking away everywhere, you even started thinking you needed to call me. I'm assuming I didn't get a call because I told them no before. I've told them no, like, hey, we need to work on this, this, and this before we hit this. And so there is that embarrassment factor that sometimes clients
Mhm.
get whenever
Mm-hmm.
you have to reject them based on loan approval
Yeah.
and things. And then you set them on a path and you do check in on them to see if we're following that path. But I think there is that embarrassment that they get for fear of rejection
Oh,
on the next
100%.
But this is what this can get you, right?
100%.
So,
And I would rather, work with a buyer and check in with a buyer, prospective buyer for a year, 2 years while they're working on their
Oh
credit
my
or
gosh.
whatever.
do you remember the lady for 3 years?
Yes.
3 years, like,
Yes.
popped back up. She
Popped
worked on her
back up.
credit for 3 years.
Oh wow.
It was the best thing. So she popped up, and first we're like, who?
Who?
I've had that happen because I've done the same thing, and like a year later they come back in and they're like,
Who?
hey, and I'm
We're
like,
finally ready. Yeah.
hi.
Yeah, hi,
How
I'm
are
ready, and
you?
you're
And you're like,
scrambling trying to find
where
where
was-
are my
where's your
notes?
file?
Where are my
Right.
notes?
What were we looking for? And bless these people's hearts, they worked so hard. It was one of the more
Yes.
gratifying sales.
Yes.
They worked so super hard. And
I just had one. Remember, they bought that new construction
oh no,
out there in Waterside. They just came
they-
back out of nowhere, and I went, well, what's that name? What's that name? I know that name.
okay, so
And they had worked on their stuff.
but those people ended up buying a house $55,000 on half an
Yes,
acre,
yes.
like
oh wow.
hidden and bared.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never seen people more
But you know what?
ecstatic.
Yeah, they were
Because it's
thrilled.
theirs. It's
was-
finally theirs.
It was
It's
theirs. They
theirs.
were ready, and they did the work, and it was so gratifying for
Mhm.
that moment. That note, Connie is world famous to forget names.
I don't know who they are.
You can give her the file, you can give her the house, she'll know the face,
Sure
and she'll
will.
just look at you stone faced like, I nope. As soon as I walk off, who's that? And I have to get. I feel like the movie frequently of the Devil Wears Prada.
Yep.
You know, where she's sitting back there with the book, going, "That's so and so."
Yeah.
Oh hi, yeah. And once I give her the name, she still gives me this blank look, and I'm like, "This house," and she's like, "Oh hey, yeah." She remembers
Okay.
all of
I
it.
can name the house. I
To be
can
fair,
see the house.
I think that's like a lot of agents, to be fair,
Yeah.
because I have the same problem. I can't remember a name. I'll have a client call me and they'll say, "Hey, it's so and so," and I'm like, and then they tell me the address, and I'm like,
Hey,
No,
I
I
know
go-
that house.
I go to Taylor CAD, see who they are.
Like, hold on.
But
I remember.
it yeah, we were honestly funny story about that. We were sitting in a restaurant and Patterson's was
Oh my
open.
gosh.
This girl walks up, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you." And I don't know why. I'd go, "How are the kids?" "Oh, the twins are growing. You wouldn't believe it." Neither one of us.
No.
Rachel
neither
was on that one.
Couldn't even pick it. I was like, I have no
We
idea.
had no idea who it was.
No
Oh, gosh.
idea.
Still don't.
Oh
And
no.
it happens. We come across so
Still
many
don't.
people. So I
But,
think
you
like
know,
our
they're
real,
going back 18 years.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do, like I said, you do stay in touch. But I'm gonna stay in touch. I stay in touch via text. I stay in touch via email, social media, snail mail.
what I
Like,
can do.
My
but
eyes on you 10 years later. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years. So
yeah.
until I can grab the house and kind of circle my way back
Circle
around.
back.
you're like,
Circle
okay.
back. So, Sam, what would you say if you're like a buyer out there hitting Zillow and all this stuff, and all of a sudden you're inundated with the listing agent? I mean, what would you suggest to buyers right now?
Find your own representation. There's a lot of agents out here, whether it's one of us, whether it's someone else, whoever fits you and who you are and your personality. It's kind of like what we tell our people when it comes to a lender. Find one that fits you, because
Mhm.
you're basically marrying them for that term of the contract.
Right.
And it's the same way with an agent. And I don't want someone to be scared to sign a buyer representation. You
Right.
have representations that are out there that could be for a short term. You can do it just for that specific listing.
Right.
It is required by law that we have one now. But I don't want someone to be scared. I had a client just recently come in, and she did not want to sign a buyer rep.
Right.
She had a fiasco happen. They were looking in another state at one point in time
Mhm.
and decided, nope, they're Texas bound, and that's where they're going to stay. So they came across me and told them I need a buyer representation. The hesitation
Oh,
was thick.
It's crazy, but
They're
I think
terrified.
I think it's the old school thought of like, I'm stuck with this for a year. And
Yeah.
Yes. And so what we did is we did a short term, a 2 week.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at homes. What she and I talked. She was very hesitant, and I said, I can understand now why you were very hesitant on signing a buyer representation. And she said, yes. She goes, but I love you and stuff. And I said, great. Well, let's make this a done deal
Right.
and get this taken care of.
Right.
So now we're out, we're shopping homes, we're looking for what's best for her. Even if I didn't fit her, there's a lot of agents that can sit there and take care of her. And in that capacity, I could have passed her off to one of you guys who might fit her better personality wise. But I don't want someone to be afraid, because then you have someone looking out for you. Because if you walk in and that's the right home, that's when they can sit there and take care of you full heartedly
Right.
through the end.
But if you don't have anything, right, you can't
You'll
even
end
get
up
out
in
there.
this
Can't
scenario.
end
even
up in
get out there.
This
Yeah.
situation. And Connie and I have talked about that. That's what we do enjoy about like the Russell Rose team factor of things is, look, not everybody's going to get along.
But
Not
no.
everybody's personalities are going to mesh,
Mm-mm.
and
It happens.
it happens a lot.
It's
So,
okay.
Like
you know,
like
I-
the elderly.
I don't
people-
want to work with somebody I'm miserable working with.
Exactly.
It's a two-way street.
It is a
Yes.
two-way street, and you don't want to make it a miserable experience
Right.
for either. We're always proud. We're really big on that with our lenders, title companies, and
Mhm.
inspectors. That when we
Match
say
them.
team, we're like, we mean a huge team. So I'm going to decide which
Yeah.
lender, because we have so many great lending partners and so many great title companies, and we're pretty fortunate in this area. There's not anybody just terrible,
Mm-mm.
so that
Mm-mm.
we're able to take that. That's part of real estate that people don't know about, right? So us as agents and how we match make all of this behind the scenes that they
Yeah.
don't
They
realize
don't
it
know what's
to
going
give
on.
them the most pleasurable experience they can have. Because let's be real, like buying a house is so stressful.
It's
And
the
s-
biggest investment they'll make in their
in
life.
entire lives.
in their
It's
entire life.
so
Well,
expensive.
unless they buy a Bugatti.
But it's so expensive and it's so much, and it doesn't matter the price point. It's everything for somebody. It's their
everything.
whole livelihood. It's where they're
Mhm.
gonna do all different kinds of life events. So you take the lenders, and it's like, do you need the one that's going to give you the hug? Do you need the one that's going to hold your foot to the fire? Do
Yeah.
you need the one that's going to leave you alone but get it done? Like you have, and we gauge that as agents. We gauge that from behind the scenes to go.
Mhm.
I've got an idea of your personality, so you're going to go here.
I think I can recommend this one to you. If you don't
Right.
like them, let me know. But here's a couple that
Yeah.
may work for you.
And how
You know
many
what I mean?
times have we called each other to where I'm calling you
Oh,
and going,
yeah.
we're not clicking. Like they are just not having a good time with me. We're not having
And
a great
all of a
experience.
sudden, I become Mama Connie.
And then
And
I'm like, hey, roll with me on a showing. Let me see if they click with you.
Mhm.
And if they do, then I pass them
And
off.
out
Or
we
vice
go.
versa. She'll
Vice
call me and
versa.
go, I can't do this millennial crap today. Can you talk to them? I'm not getting what I need. And I'm like, okay. So I come on the next showing and it's like, okay, let's this. So that's the beauty of 5 of us to go, okay, you may not fit with me, but I'm
Yep.
not going to let you just get stranded here. Let me make sure it's a pleasurable experience.
Yes.
That
Right.
This person's going to work
Yes.
better for you. Or you with your land experience. I don't have near as much land experience. So if I get a land plan, I'm like, hey, guess what? She's going to be able to do that.
And I did just that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Yes,
going to
you
be
have.
able to help you a little bit more than I can. And you always want to make sure, and that's what frustrates me with these agents that are out there trying to roll over people like that.
They're trying to put a
Our-
round ball in a square peg
Right.
and or square hole, and you can't do that. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
well for the listing agent to go off and do that type of offer and do all of that. Whereas us, we're like, look, I want you to have the most pleasurable experience you can have. So if that means it's not me, it's not me. Move on. Here you go. Here's several options.
And even as a listing agent, we sit there and say, "Hey, I'm the listing agent. Here, go talk with Connie, or go talk
Yes.
with Kayla, or
Right,
you
you
know,
and Kayla have
Rachel.
done it the past 2 times, right?
Three.
It's-
three,
Yeah,
Three now.
three.
listings
Where-
to go here. You
yeah.
need to have
But yeah,
representation.
That way, they have their own person looking out for them.
Well,
Right.
yeah. I mean, what would have happened today? Inspection comes back
Inspection did come back.
and
what? Yeah.
and what?
She was like, I'm about to pull out of this contract. Well, again, I don't want to get involved. I can't.
Right.
Right.
But
And
she was like, do I need to pay this guy? And yes,
Yeah, you gotta
absolutely.
pay
He did
your
the work.
inspector.
But here she is in this
But and
contract.
so what? She calls and says I want out, and they said, "Get me the form."
Right.
I
I was writing the form for her. Yeah.
I mean, there's that.
Insanity. And this poor lady is out almost $600
Yeah.
for nothing. For
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. So that was a doozy, but that is the importance. So yeah, poster child, exactly why you want a buyer's agent to help represent you. And I think it's passed over so many times that people think, oh, you don't need it, or oh, you can take this to the title company and they can do it, or oh, we'll do the limited liability, I can handle it myself. There's so many factors to it.
I
that
am
they
hearing
don't
that
know.
a lot.
It's
I
so
don't
crazy.
need a buyer's agent. I can just go do this on my own.
But
Well,
how
here
many-
you go.
So we 18 years. How many years?
12.
12 years and a broker's license.
Yes.
So like
Mhm.
we have a mass amount of education here and for a reason.
Mhm.
Like for a reason. There's so much to it that and it's
It's
o-
always changing and always evolving.
oh my gosh.
You,
right?
if
So-
someone, you run across someone, they're like, well, I know everything there is to know. They're
No, you
lying to
don't.
you.
You know you don't.
I don't even know everything there is to
Take-
know.
Take that from someone who has a broker's license and
Right.
tons
No,
of
it
education.
changes
changes all the
the
time. And it's constantly moving. It's
Mhm.
fluid.
But we're
Mhm.
supposed to have more contract changes in January,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
December
no,
and January.
this month, 26th.
Well, the 26th will have a couple more changes
Yeah,
here, and
more
then again in
revisions. Then,
January.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think November.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we've got September, November, January.
Well, and I think realtors shoot themselves in the foot, in all honesty, and I'm famous for it. And I don't know how to project it to the public, and I wish somebody would figure out a positive light to project it out there, because you can post out there, oh, just sold, but they don't know we had Tidewaters. We don't
Yeah.
they don't know that we did this. And realtors are so good about that. Like, I think our job is to be out there as the standing target, and we're just taking it, right? We're taking the shots the whole deal through.
Yeah.
And our whole job is for our buyer or our seller to not know
Right.
we're taking those shots. So we're just getting hammered the whole deal. And then they get to it, and a good agent, right? You get to it, and your client at the end is like, that was the easiest thing ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm dead. Like, I am exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
You have no idea what names I've been called.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where things have gone so
Where
right.
I've been
that
yelled at, and
where
yeah.
I do love that about our team. We are all, I'm going to find the solution before I present you the problem.
Mhm.
And I'll have that problem sitting on my desk
Mhm.
for 2-3 days.
Mhm.
And I'm working with 5 different people trying to figure out how do we solve this before I present it to you,
Mhm.
because that's my job, right? My job is to keep this as stress-free as possible for you. But I think with the public, when they get out there and they see, oh, just sold, just listed, just this, and they're like,
All
oh,
they did was open the door.
right,
Yeah.
this glamorous lifestyle we live, not knowing, like last night, I'm sitting at my daughter's volleyball game trying to text in the middle of this boom, 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 out, base. And I'm like, offer accepted. Oh no, they need it now. Hey, can you type up this?
Yeah.
And
I'll take that over the dog with the squeaky toy.
oh,
I'm sitting there on the computer and it's just nonstop with Pepper and the
yeah.
squeaky toy.
Well, and then I have a request to come in to show on a listing that we have not, that is not moving fast at all. And I'm trying to drive back from San Angelo, and I'm in and out of service. And I'm trying to call this lady that is our seller. She's 85 years old, so like getting a hold of her anyway. And I'm like, accept the appointment. The service is in and out. It's crazy. So there's a whole backstory to all
Everything
of it,
that
of all
we
the things that we're trying to make
everything
move.
that we do.
And we
I
shoot
do
her-
have a happy buyer story though.
Oh,
but,
we all have great
last
happy-
night, well, it started with, oh my God, the closing costs this buyer was getting hit with
Yeah,
were astronomical.
the 14 grand, right?
Yeah,
That one?
4,800 more on top of having 8,500 in credits.
Oh God,
So
right?
I'm losing my mind
Whoa,
with this
yeah.
lender. I lost my mind with the lender. I called the lender's boss and lost my mind again.
Oh,
And it
man.
came down to insurance.
Yes.
His
Oh.
insurance was 3,800. He needed to have it at 26, literally 26.58 to change everything. So he wouldn't have all this money coming out of pocket.
Insurance was at 3,800.
Yes, and he wouldn't have to buy down this, and he wouldn't have to pay off this one
Oh,
credit
God.
card. It all came down to that. So I referred him. Here's some locals.
Yeah.
Call these. I got a text last night that said I needed 26.58. My insurance came in at 25.88 based on your referral. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
So happy buyer. So he gets it,
But he took your advice.
but he took my advice. He listened.
But he
you
didn't
know.
know too that you were like screaming at the lender behind the scenes.
He did not
right?
know. He did not. He may watch this podcast and know.
He might.
But-
He'll be like, hold on, that story sounds familiar.
Yeah. Oh, that was me.
Surprise.
But yeah, and I'm not literally screaming,
No.
but I was getting a little irritated.
Yeah.
you
Well, you're
know?
advocating.
Yes.
Real estate realtors are advocators. You're advocating for
I don't
your
care if
clients.
it's the lender. I don't care if it's the title company. I'm fighting for my buyer,
Yeah.
and that's the importance of a buyer rep, and they don't understand that.
There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that I think a lot of people don't understand, whether it's a buyer or a
Yeah.
seller side, that we sit there and we take care of. I've actually gotten to the point where I've send out like congratulations, you're under contract. It's an email now, but it goes into, hey, there might be a quiet period
Oh,
where
yes.
I am working on things
Yeah.
for you.
Oh, I
behind
tell
the
them that too. I
scenes.
go, okay, I'm gonna be disappeared for a little while because you've got to be working with your lender
Yep.
and getting those docs to them
Yep.
immediately.
I tell everybody, I'm like, look, here in Texas, obviously we don't have an inspection clause. We try to use an option period to help
Right.
offset some of that. But I'm like, look, the first 10 days of your deal are absolutely miserable. This is not an HGTV
So
moment.
hands-on,
No.
it's crazy.
I said, I'm getting you with meeting stuff. The inspector's hitting you. The lender's hitting you. And the first 10 days is so chaotic and so busy.
Yep.
So once we get past that, we go on a cruise control.
Yeah.
You get to settle down and my side of things amp up. So I'm pressing on that gas
Mhm.
while you get to relax.
I just say we have a little breakup and then we get back together.
You reconcile
We
at the
get
end.
back towards the end.
Fair,
And-
fair.
I just tell people I become a ninja.
There
That's all
Yeah.
good.
good.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, right? And they don't know. And so sometimes, that's like no news is good news. Sometimes if you don't hear from me, this is a good thing.
That's
this
a good
means I've
thing.
got everything going.
Yeah.
And you do the once a week check in, like, hey, just letting you know,
Right.
like, things are on track. But
Hmm.
you're moving those parts so much behind the scenes. I'm getting this
And I
survey.
think that
working.
that kind of mixes the public persona. We just open the door.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Just open the door and off we go, and we make millions of dollars, and we have fancy houses and fancy
I
Do
own
cars.
you
an
remember
island.
that one? Do you remember that one client that looked at the settlement statement and said, "Can I write you a check? Is
That's
that all you
all you
made?"
made? Because that was a really rough
That was a
deal.
rough deal,
Yeah.
and I go, "No, we're good."
So no, and like I've said before, you have those unicorn deals where you really do open the door.
Literally.
And
But
it doesn't. They're so few and far between.
You're lucky if you get one a year.
Yeah, one a
Yeah.
year is gracious. Like
Yeah,
I'm
what
like
are you
once every,
talking about? Once every 5.
about every 5 years. I'm like, how did that go so easy?
And you do get them, but then you have 3 months of pure chaos and deals
Yeah.
falling apart and somebody under contract and they go buy a new car.
Well,
and you
we-
know that one's
yeah.
gone.
We just
so
had the one, right? We just had Tidewaters where the house
no.
measured out 200 square feet less,
Oh,
appraised
no.
9,000 less, and neither
Mm-mm.
side
No one could get
budged.
there.
And
No one could
so-
get there.
They do fall apart.
And it's okay.
But in that time,
They
right?
found a better house.
Okay, so that's usually what I tell people. If it doesn't work out, it's because the right one is
Yeah,
coming.
we haven't gotten
So,
there, right? But in that time, so right, how many hours have you put in? You made it through those first 10
Tons.
days, where it is a crazy amount of hours to get
Mhm.
through that portion of the contract, and then you've gotten through the inspections, you've gotten through the repairs, you've come to this part, and oh dang it, now I've put in more hours
Oh,
fighting
yeah.
comps, proving this,
Fighting
trying to
with your
fight.
lender, trying to make sure is there something else?
Right.
Did you miss something? Did you know?
Right. And then everything falls apart. And guess what? You just put in a month's worth of work
Yeah.
and nothing's happening. And it's discouraging for the buyers too, because you're like, you also have to keep their
Oh,
spirits
yeah.
up.
Oh,
Of,
God,
I am
yes.
so sorry. We're not going to be able to do this
Oh,
if we can't get here.
Right.
So you have to take on their discouragement, but keep their hopes up that it really will work out how it's supposed to, because we've seen it for so many years.
Yeah.
That it does come out. And like Connie said, she thinks it's a better house. So
I do.
thankfully, that was another one. Like, hey, I'm not here. They want a 3D tour. Can you run over and do it? So I had already found the house twice for
And
them.
man, I did a good tour.
It was good. Anyway, I've had fun, ladies.
Yeah,
That's-
this has been good.
buyers reps are so important. Sellers are
Very.
important too, and we're going to dive into sellers, I think, next week.
Well,
what
yeah,
they
no, I want to go into sellers on our next one. I also wanted to go into next week as to why you shouldn't go look at 27 houses in 1 week.
Oh, yes.
You want to
we were-
just hit it now?
We can hit that right
Okay,
now.
so I'm just going to tell you my perspective as when I was a buyer,
Yes.
first time buyer. You show me any more than 4, and I'm stupid
Yes.
because I don't remember what I saw. I
Okay.
have no idea what I saw.
So here is the double-edged sword of that, because we're in a military town, so we have
Yes.
people PCSing in, right?
Mhm.
And they get 10 days from the military
Oh,
to look
yeah.
for housing. A lot of them don't take those full 10 days. So then they come at you and go, hey, I'm in town for
I
2.
got 27 houses.
But we have 27 houses we want to see. And it's like, are you okay?
All right.
Giddy up, let's go. We got it. So then you're sitting there scheduling for days, trying to get everything lined up.
And what did they offer on? One of the last 2.
One of the last 2.
They didn't remember the others. They
Right.
couldn't remember what window, what
By the time we
Yeah.
got to house 5 on day 1, they were like, which one was that?
which
So
one had the skinny windows.
thankfully,
Yeah.
we started giving them nicknames so that they could
Uh,
grab them.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Sam
say.
just had 15
So,
this weekend.
I did 15 last weekend. I've got 15
Yeah.
this weekend
Ugh.
coming up. So, but what I've gotten used to doing with my buyers that are, hey, I need to see a packed schedule is
Right.
you're nicknaming each home. Like we
Yes.
walked into one,
Yeah.
it was like a couple years ago, and I still remember this house because the chandelier that was over in the dining room, they literally named it the Beauty and the Beast house because
There you
that's what it reminded them
There
of.
you
Yeah.
So, but that's how they were able to divide each home individually.
We had
and
that.
stuff.
Yep. We did.
Ladies, I'm harsher. I mean, I guess I'm just old and crusty anymore because they hit me with 15. I go, you pick your top 5. I don't do it.
I just always feel
I
like
don't do. Now, I have
yes.
if they're coming from another state, but if they're here in town,
well, they're coming from Alaska.
yeah, if they're
So-
coming,
Okay, that's
if you're coming from a town just on the outskirts, I'm sorry, we're not seeing 15
Right.
houses.
Right.
Well, you remember
You'll get confused, and I tell them
Oh,
that it's too many.
it is.
So the only way to that I found is nicknaming homes and
Yes.
actually write down on. I actually go old school and write down what did you think of this house?
She
What
does
did you
this as
hate?
well,
What did
yeah.
you like?
I do
That
too.
way, when we're going through it and we're talking later on, it's hey, I hated
Go
this, I
back.
hated that, I like this, love this.
Yeah.
This wasn't for us. The layout sucked. You
Yep.
know, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. That way, we can kind of keep it in order.
Oh, absolutely.
Or I'll take
So.
the top 3. What are
Mhm.
your top 3?
Yeah.
And I make them a property board.
But they're always wrong.
Here's the 3 you said were your top 3. This one didn't even. Oh my gosh! Sometimes you run across these houses. Swear to God, this was one. And I'm gonna
Oh.
sound like car salesman again. One owner home from 1966, pristine, and we're like, buy it.
Wallpaper and all.
Wallpaper, wallpaper,
and
little oven,
Berber carpet
Berber
and diamond
carpet,
patterns.
Oh, no.
draperies,
Pink countertops.
pink countertops, and I'm like, buy this.
This is great.
And they're just looking at us, and we're like, no, it's a good house, one owner.
This is the one you need.
We went full on car salesman mode.
And these are the clients that were 27
This has
houses.
easy mileage on it.
Yeah. Well maintained. Only driven to church and back on Sundays.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the house they ended
That's a
up
house
going to.
they bought.
So it was
So
like 4 days of the back and forth, pros and cons of everything. But yeah, when you're looking at so many houses or you have a limited
too
time
much.
schedule, there is too much. 4 is about the max that you're actually going to be able to
Mhm.
retain what you're seeing. Now, if you have limited time, again, that's a good way. Nicknames,
Yeah.
pros and cons, those types of things. But if you can
But
avoid it,
there's so much though that they get so excited in the moment they're buying a home, and I get it.
right.
But they're just grabbing anything.
That was
Do you
cool.
really like that house? Not really, but
It'll work.
it'll work.
I think that comes from the COVID years.
I think
right?
so.
There was
Probably.
so limited inventory.
Scarred everything.
That it is
Scarred me.
It is so
Yeah,
yes,
it scarred everybody.
It was awful. Everybody's like, "Oh, realtors did great." I was like, "No, our mental health was severely
No.
it
compromised."
suffered.
No idea.
We're
So,
trying to homeschool kids
I
in
think-
the middle of all that. That was not working, guys.
Kid on
It's
my
a
daughter's
fact.
school, oh God, what was his name? Josiah. It's Josiah. Josiah, the teacher, every single day. Is that an Xbox controller?
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh,
Oh
Lord.
my gosh.
And Adelaide's like, I'm learning nothing because he's always on his Xbox. But yeah, we looked at it. Buyers do. They have this perception now, and limited inventory has been limited. And I was going to harp on that too. The fact that we had 27
gosh.
homes available
Oh yeah.
to show them was insane. So there was
Yes.
that, which was fantastic. It was like, thank God you finally get a choice
So the
of
fifth,
what you want.
yeah, the
right.
15 from last week, and that was within their price range and
Yeah.
stuff that fit. This week, they went back to their lenders, respoke, and did some things. They upped their limit.
Nice.
So we're in a $20,000 limit. So these
There's a
homes
big
that are for
difference.
this are for that difference.
Mhm.
Right.
So there's definite change. They found things that they liked
Right.
in the other homes, but it didn't all fit.
Fit. Right.
So now we're in a different price range. So we're hoping that the one
It'll
is
be
in
within there.
is in
Yeah.
but
But you
they're
had
pretty
to-
consistent on what they're
Oh,
looking at.
and if you're a first time buyer or whatever, and you're buying in this smaller budget, that's okay.
Oh yeah,
Go ahead
there's
and
nothing
buy
wrong
in that.
with
Go
that.
ahead and buy in that budget and fix up what you want
Mhm.
to fit you, and always look at that as this is step one to the porch.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take step two. So let's get my equity out of it, and I'm going to go to step two. And by step three, you've got the house you've always wanted.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Well, and that varies too, because we've had the clients that are
Uh,
50 years old, never bought a house, and they're going gusto, full gusto,
Oh,
like they're
yeah.
on it, and we're shooting up to 600,000 to start.
they
And you're
saved.
like, but they saved their whole lives, and
'Cause
they
they
didn't want to
saved their
do
whole life.
that. But no, I was encouraged that there was 27 houses to be able to actually show, and then I was encouraged that they had
Option.
3-4 days
Yeah.
to actually think about it, because in
Mhm.
COVID you
Mhm.
had
No time.
3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Seconds.
And you didn't care what the house was. You didn't even have to look at the house. You looked at the online
It was an
pictures and you
apple.
write an app.
It was an
offer.
apple.
And it was
I
like
can't tell
terrible.
you how many offers I wrote during COVID,
Oh my gosh.
sight unseen,
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen.
and it was
Oh.
horrendous.
I went to show a buyer, and it was the worst part because the house was just going to be open, right?
Yeah.
That's where we all got to, right? The house was going
Yeah.
to be vacant from 6
Yep.
to 9 p.m.
Open.
Everybody just come. And it was on Amarillo, and my
Yeah.
clients wanted to go see it. I swear to you, I parked on Meander.
No
Like
way.
Yeah.
the street was filled, and I mean, you had to
Oh.
shimmy past people, and
Uh-huh.
this is all agents and clients alike, and I'm like, this is insanity.
Oh,
And
Lord.
like for that anytime they're like, oh, I love it, it gives me such mass anxiety. I'm
Oh,
like,
me
you know
too.
how much we're gonna have to pay for this.
So,
Yeah.
as bad as that sounds, I had an agent friend that was in one of the major cities call me, and they were like, I have no idea how to handle this. I've got 120 offers on this one property.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're going to have to like old school Excel spreadsheet
Yes.
this out.
Yes.
Terrible. Yes, we had that
It
one.
was so bad.
On Helena, we had 46 offers
Yes.
in 2 hours. And I was
God.
like, cut it off. I cut it
Yeah.
off.
Cut it
I
off.
said, we're accepting no more offers. And I had to. And I got permission from the seller. I was like, look, we're at 46. Like, we're going to keep getting these.
We need
but
to
we
just
have
stop it.
we have at least 4 that are really strong offers. And it ended up selling 65,000
Mhm.
over list
Over.
price
Holy cow.
cash.
Good
Yeah.
Lord.
People
So-
were cashing in their
But
401ks.
they were coming from Arizona, and it was with the Dallas agent. Like, he texted me
Yeah.
and he was like, when is your offer cutoff? And I said, in 3 minutes is when we're cutting off the offers. He was like, hold on, I'm writing. Sight unseen, no
Yeah.
inspections, all of that. And I was like, this is nuts.
This is
That's
craziness.
crazy.
Nuts.
So anyway, hope we don't get back to that.
So next week, sellers, what to expect whenever you're going to look at listing your property, things to expect from us, what we're going to have you prepare for, how the appointment's going to go. Possibly Sam joining us again. We'll
Don't hate
see.
us for being blunt.
There you go.
For real.
All right.
All
well,
right,
it's been fun,
ladies. Well, happy Friday the 13th.
It's not over yet. We've got 2 more
It just
showings.
started.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye, guys.